All right, today we're diving into a case study right out of Sugar Land, Texas that tackles a problem I think we all know a little too well, the air conditioner that just gives up the ghost. We're going to break down exactly why HVAC systems in this part of the country are fighting a battle they're destined to lose and, what we can all learn from it.
I mean, we've all been there, haven't we? It's that moment of pure panic. The temperature outside is just scorching, and all of a sudden, the air coming out of your vents feels kind of warm. It feels like some sort of cruel cosmic joke, but it turns out it's not just bad luck. There's a real reason this happens, especially in a place like Sugar Land.
And that right there is the key, the entire point. We love to blame the heat, but the real culprits, they're a very unique mix of local environmental factors. See, an AC unit there isn't just cooling a house. It's in a 24/7 fight against humidity, shifting soil, and even the very air it's breathing.
So what are these hidden enemies? Well, we've identified a triple threat that's waging a silent war on your home's comfort system. Let's pull back the curtain and meet them one by one.
First up, you guessed it, the most infamous Texas villain of all, humidity. And look, we're not talking about just a little bit of summer stickiness. In the Sugar Land area, humidity is regularly hitting 80%. Just think for a second what that does to your AC. It means it has to work double time. First, it's got to pull all that water out of the air, and only then can it even start the job of cooling what's left.
Now, this is where it gets pretty nasty. All that moisture has to drain out somewhere, right? Well, that creates this constantly damp, dark environment inside your system, which is just a perfect breeding ground for algae and mold. This gunk starts growing and eventually clogs up the drain, causing water to back up, which can lead to serious damage. And at the exact same time, all that moisture is just eating away at the delicate metal evaporator coils, causing them to rust from the inside out.
Okay, our second enemy is, believe it or not, the very ground your house is built on. Most of Fort Bend County sits on this expansive clay soil, and this stuff basically acts like a giant sponge. It swells up when it's wet and then shrinks and cracks when it's dry. This constant, subtle movement of your home's foundation is more than enough to wreak havoc on your ductwork. Just imagine these pipes being slowly but surely pulled apart at the seams. And what happens then? All that perfectly chilled air you're paying a fortune for starts leaking right into your hot attic instead of your living room. So your system runs and runs and runs to try and keep up, and your energy bills, they just go through the roof.
And finally, our third hidden enemy is the air itself. Yeah, really. Being so close to the Gulf Coast means the air carries these tiny particles that are actively working to destroy the metal parts of your outdoor AC unit.
So you've got this salty air that's just speeding up rust and corrosion on your big outdoor unit. But it doesn't stop there. The air is also full of pollen, dust, you name it. And all that stuff gets sucked in and clogs up the filters, basically choking your system and forcing it to work even harder. It's a constant assault that means an AC in Sugar Land needs way more maintenance than one in a milder, drier climate.
Okay, so these enemies are out there, they're at work. But how do you know if you're losing the battle in your own home? Let's go over some of the common warning signs and what they're really telling you.
You can really see the chain reaction here. If you feel like your house just isn't getting as cold as it used to, that's often a refrigerant leak from those corroded coils. See a water stain on your ceiling? That's a classic sign of that clogged drain line we were just talking about. And if you've got rooms that are hot while others are freezing, that is a huge clue that your ductwork has been pulled apart by the shifting soil. And of course, the ultimate symptom, a crazy high energy bill, that's basically your wallet screaming for help. And this all leads to the big, expensive question every single homeowner faces eventually. When the repair bills start to pile up, are you just throwing good money after bad? How do you make the right call?
Well, to answer that, let's take a look at how the pros fight back. Because it's not about just fixing a broken part. It's about having a real strategy that accounts for this unique, harsh environment. It all starts with something called proper sizing. A really common mistake is just guessing based on square footage. But in a humid place like Sugar Land, that's a total recipe for disaster. An oversized system cools the air way too fast and then shuts off before it can pull the humidity out, leaving you with that cold, clammy feeling. The professional standard, though, uses a detailed calculation that looks at everything, your windows, your insulation, local climate data, to perfectly match the system to your house. A real expert in this area knows exactly what to hunt for. They don't just fix the obvious broken part. No, they get up in the attic and look for those telltale gaps in the ductwork. They know to check that drain line specifically for that nasty algae buildup. They're not just a repairman. They're like a doctor diagnosing the health of the entire system.
So, now that you're armed with all this knowledge, how can you make the smartest possible decision for your own home? Well, there's actually a super simple tool that can really help you out.
It's called the $5,000 rule. Now, this isn't some hard and fast law of physics, but it is a fantastic guideline that helps cut through all the stress and just focus on the financial reality of your decision.
Here's how it works. It's just 2 simple steps. First, figure out how old your system is. Then, get an estimate for how much the current repair is going to cost. And then, you just multiply those 2 numbers together.
If that final number is more than $5,000, the rule suggests it's probably time to replace the whole thing. Take a look at this example. You've got a 12-year-old system and it needs a $500 repair. You do the math, and that comes out to $6,000. Now, I know what you're thinking. $500 sounds way better than a new system, but the calculation shows you the bigger picture. You're about to sink money into a system that's already on its last legs and is probably just going to fail again soon.
And this quote right here is why that $5,000 rule is so dead on for this area. The simple fact is, the climate in Sugarland beats these machines up and shortens their lifespan. You just can't expect to get 20 years out of a system like you might in a cooler, drier part of the country. Knowing that a 12-year-old system is already near the end of its useful life helps you make a much more realistic decision. So, I want you to think about it this way. Your air conditioner isn't just an appliance. It's more like a soldier on the front lines of a relentless 10-month-long battle, year after year. So the real question is, have you armed it to win?